Welcome back to another episode of the Wild Edible World podcast, where this episode you're going to find us pounding those breath mints. You're going to find out why later on in this episode. I'm your host, Michael, but this episode you can call me Stinkin' Lincoln, because I'm tall and eat onions.
And I am Steve. They call me the Onion Knight. Shout out Sir Davos. And welcome to episode Wild Allium, in specific Meadow garlic, not specific Canada onion, Canada garlic, wild onion. There's lots of names. If you're familiar with it, then you know and you love it. If you're not, then we're going to show you. We're going to show you why you should.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the most common onion allium plants that you're going to find along your trail sides. You'll probably find them curbside as well, not necessarily in low tide, so we haven't quite included that in our little rhythm. But yeah, you're going to find these all over the place. We just tried to do a little walk around this park that we're recording in right now. We actually didn't come across any. We found some habitat that would have been perfect for it.
Lots of other delicious things.
Yeah.
Zero of these
no
guys.
alliums.
Yeah.
So, but I do. I mean, of course, I come across them all the time in other places. So yeah, we'll start off talking a little bit about what it looks like, right? And we'll from its most recognizable feature first, which is its above ground parts, which probably would lead us to what you see in most stages, especially because this species, especially Allium Canadense, is one of the first to come out during the spring, and then it kind of lasts pretty well into summer with a bunch of different edible parts. So the first things that you're going to see coming out of the ground are these thin grass-like blades.
Sure.
And they look like grass, but they sure don't smell like it, and they're a little bit thicker.
And on top of those grass-like stalks, you'll see several different variations of this. So most likely what you'll first see early in the season, where we're at now, is a cluster of what would you call that? Like buds?
Yeah, so in late spring, it's going to be putting up its flower heads. So yeah, they're kind of like seed heads, but they have like little flowers that kind of poke out in between them. They're just tiny little itty bitty flowers.
Yeah, it's like they have like a wrapping.
Yep. There'll be like an oniony kind of pointy sheath, like papery sheath covering these, and then they kind of slowly burst out as they age, and they start out kind of like white colored, and then they age into sometimes kind of pink or darker red. Yeah. And then that's when they become a little bit more inedible. But.
And when they are in full bloom, I mean, they're beautiful. It's like this big star of flowers. It's like a morning star, but like delicious and edible.
Yeah, definitely. And so again, that's like the most recognizable feature is this flat blade length. You're going to have a lot of things that may smell or taste like alliums. And there's different species, of course, but the key one we're talking about has this flat, no tubular essence to it, whatsoever. It's flat, and it's kind of grass-like. But yeah, when you break the leaf, there's this smell. Whenever you break apart that seed head that we were talking about, there's going to be this smell there, and it's always this characteristic allium smell, and it's going to be onion or garlic. This tends to be on the oniony side, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually a huge indicator that you got the right thing, because you like we always preach, you want to make sure you triple check your ID, and that smell is actually very important. There is a variety of this that isn't gonna hurt you, but maybe not so great for young children. So that smell, you want to make sure it's pungent. If it smells like grass, toss it away.
Yeah, if you're ever in doubt, throw it out, of course.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's going to have that oniony smell, and it's characteristic to a lot of things. It's one of the more intuitive things as foragers that we can use to help identify edible things in the wild without knowing exactly what they are. If it smells like onion, you can eat it. If it smells like garlic, you can eat it. Yeah. It's just that's all there is to it. It is kind of, sometimes it is that simple. Most of the time it's not. Yeah. But sometimes it is.
And then from that, Beyond the Flower, that's a cool name, Beyond the Flower. Maybe that's like an episode.
Hashtag band name.
Yeah. Beyond that and beyond the stalk, we get to the bulb, which is, on these particular, it's not gigantic. It's not an onion. You're not going to pull it out of the ground and, be able to cook an entire stir fry with it. But it is, a small bulb, and it is covered in sometimes a brown skin fiber. If you can get the whole darn thing out. Occasionally that comes out while you're pulling it. But onion odor, garlic taste, things like that.
Yeah, and it pretty much looks exactly like what's the culinary equivalent to it? Like what do they call them? A bulb onion
Yeah,
or
bunching onion.
bunching onion?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, you got the small one that's about the size of get big as a quarter, $50 at biggest.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen
With,
some pretty big ones. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So depending on the stand, yeah, they can be a variety of sizes. Which obviously, when you kind of want to find the bigger ones because they don't at all get weaker in flavor with their size. So bigger the better, and also the older the plant. So that's the underground portion. You can also there's other things if you can't smell. I mean, there's other ways you can identify this plant from its root structure. There are lookalikes that have almost like bulb-like formations at the bottom of the plant, but you'll notice that the roots will kind of separate off of each other. They'll kind of it's much more like a tap root, not exactly a tap root, but it'll have that root structure where it's kind of one thing, and then you have a few other roots kind of going off from the side of the center structure root. Whereas the onion plants and anything that is edible is going to have much more of that like green onion root structure. If anybody has bought just like a bundle of green onions at the store, you're going to notice that every single root, there isn't a center main root. You have the bulb, and then you have all of these individual roots just attached to the bottom of the root, all coming out individually. And that's another key identifying factor that you want to make sure that you have those. That's applicable basically all alliums. That's definitely something you want to make sure you're looking for in ramps if you can't smell, again, because obviously ramps have this really distinctive smell. But
yeah, so when you pull it out of the ground, turn it upside down, you want its hair to look like Michael Baker's hair.
You hang me upside down and it's just all coming out from the bottom. Yeah. So moving on from that, we have the basic physical description. The whole plant is edible, not necessarily through its whole life cycle. So once it starts getting older, obviously, yeah, I mean, you can get it too young too, but it's still going to be that really nice flavor. Whenever it gets older at the end of its life cycle, the leaves are going to be a little bit tougher, a little bit less edible, but the bulb itself will be at its biggest. And the seed head has a really interesting transition time where it has, whenever it's still in that papery sheath covering, it's edible. But once it's starting to bloom out of it and the color is darkening, that kind of almost directly aligns with how edible it is. So the brighter, the lighter, the more pale it is, the more edible. And then as it darkens in color, it becomes harder to eat, in fact. So it doesn't just stay soft, they solidify and they get hard. And I think those are the seeds. So
yeah, for sure.
That's how it propagates itself. So they definitely become inedible at some point.
Just some propagation notes, I suppose. This particular species does have a hermaphroditic flower, so it is what we call a perfect flower in the gardening world, similar to like tomatoes. So it pollinates itself, and all it needs is a little bit of wind or something to shake it.
Yeah, so you can just like fiddle with it, exactly. And you're doing its job.
Yeah. Most often, a small bug lands on it is going to do the job for you. But for anybody getting into tomatoes out there, perfect flower, all you got to do is shake your plant a little bit. Like I said, normally the wind does the job for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's its pollination. That's its life cycle there. That's how it's pollinated. And so what kind of insects pollinate it? Is it just flies or what?
Absolutely fascinating. So flies, absolutely. Native bees, not honeybees. So that's a cool thing that I honestly didn't know about it. Was I thought all bees would go to a flower, but it's only native bees that are native to the North America that pollinate this. Honeybees don't do it. So all the little hoverflies or the vast variety of native bees or little guys that land on there, they're doing the job for you. Honeybees are busy in almond orchards.
Yeah, I'm not sure you'd want like onion flavored honey.
I would love onion honey.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's all I guess personal preference.
Sure,
sounds good to me.
So I believe this plant also it not only does it produce seed sexually, but it also reproduces asexually. So it also participates in bulb division. So sometimes whenever you have one onion there, I mean, this is kind of the case for a lot of allium. I think pretty much the entire family is that they have both methods of reproduction. So it can, whenever it's not necessarily fully matured to where it's producing seed head, it can split into two plants at the bottom. And then so when you have one plant 1 year, you have two the next year, and then so on and so forth. But also the seeds do well in disturbed ground. So a lot of the times, if you have a cluster of these onions, you're really doing a huge favor by pulling out some of these, reducing the stress on its own family, and that way it actually has some rough earth for the seed to fall down into later on in the season, and that's just going to provide a perfect germinating environment for something like that.
Yeah, the actual plant was cultivated in gardens in Cuba, and then brought here, and it's one of the most easily propagatable plants I've ever had. So I took a few bulbs and with the plans to use them, but I wasn't going to use them immediately. So I threw them in a bucket, threw a little bit of soil on top of it, and kind of forgot about it. So the next year, I remembered when the whole bucket was sprouting with these wild alliums, and so it's just they take so easily, they transfer so easily, which kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of going out and finding them. But sometimes it's kind of nice. You have a little patch in your backyard.
Absolutely, there's some ththings that you just want to have easy at hand. I mean, I'm growing a little bit of pineapple weed in my flower pot this year.
That's awesome.
So
Cool.
just because I don't come across it that much, and when I do, it's in heavily metropolitan areas or like high traffic areas. So
you want to be able to control what goes into your wild edibles.
Yeah, exactly. At least I can kind of control this a little bit. So do you have anything else to add for this? Or?
No, I think we take a little break, Ski.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of a break, take a little walk, and then we'll come back with some nutritional information and some other ways that you can eat this and some anecdotes from ourselves. Please come back.
Sigh.
What's wrong, buddy?
Well, I just realized this mushroom supplement I bought isn't actually made with mushrooms. It's made with something called myceliated grain.
Myceliated grain?
Oh, no!
I'm sorry to tell you, buddy, but myceliated grain is a sure sign of a poor quality mushroom supplement.
Well, dang. I wanted mushrooms, not brown rice. What should I do?
Well, you should support a small batch producer from right here in the Midwest, Keweenaw Apothecary.
Keweenaw Apothecary? Tell me more.
Keweenaw Apothecary specializes in high-quality mushroom extracts from Michigan, and they always use real mushrooms, never myceliated grain.
That sounds like exactly what I've been looking for. Where can I order?
Well, you can find them at keweenawapothecary.etsy.com. That's KEWEENAW apothecary.etsy.com. Be sure to read their many excellent reviews.
Thanks, buddy. I don't want no low-quality mushroom products from a factory. I want Keweenaw Apothecary.
Wowie wow! Wowie wow! We've got a new hot sauce for you.
It's so delicious.
It's spicy.
It's spicier for sure.
Spicier. It's called Harvest Moon, made with ghost peppers, American persimmons,
and spice bush berry.
It's gonna be great. We also have t-shirts available. Brand new t-shirts.
The best t-shirts, I think.
Baseball tees.
Scrumpers United.
If you've collected apples, if you've collected fruit, you're
welcome to the club.
You're welcome to a club. You're a scrumper. So check out our merch store, wildedibleworldpod.myshopify.com. Wowie wow! And we're back on the Wild Edible World podcast talking about Allium Canadense.
Yeah. So before we get into the second part, which is the nutritional point.
What's up, Steve?
I misspoke on the last half, and I didn't feel like re-recording it, so I'm just going to recant right now. I said that it was cultivated in Cuba and then brought here. What I meant was it is cultivated in Cuba as, like a regular practice. We already have it here. Otherwise, why would our native bees mess with it?
Yeah, totally. So, you're an honest man.
My bee.
Gentleman and a scholar. So, we'll continue with the second part of the episode, talking about its nutritional qualities.
Let's get into some newts.
Yeah, some newts and different ways like we've used the plant. And why don't you lead us off with that?
Absolutely. So, just to talk about some of the nutritional properties. I mean, most people know that onions are great for you. They're what am I thinking of here? They are
like plenty of traditional use in like garlic, so they're related to garlic, and I feel like that's pretty common knowledge of like how
for sure.
medicinal garlic is. So I mean, yeah, plenty of medicinal properties. I have written down like pain relief and anti-inflammatory uses.
Absolutely.
And I guess I'll go on with like the nutrition a little
Sure,
bit.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
1 cup of the onion, like chopped onions, can actually provide you 100 calories. I got this from What was it? MyFitnessPal, something like that. So somebody had done a little bit of nutritional research on it, but they claim that it's 100 calories for 1 cup of onions, and then 1 carb for that, 1 gram of fat for that. But you can consider 50 grams of protein, which
That's
is
incredible.
pretty awesome.
Yeah,
No, it's a
heck
really
yeah.
nutritional plant.
Pump them onions.
Exactly.
Get that onion pump.
Get ripped. And yeah, early on in the spring too. So it's one of the first vegetables you can find, and it's just really good for you. It's really high in vitamins A and C. And for those of you who have cholesterol issues, it's really good at lowering your bad cholesterol, and it's shown that it doesn't change any of your levels with the good cholesterol either. So
It's a good thing.
pretty straight.
Heck yeah. On some of the less factual notes about it, Native Americans used to think that by rubbing this plant on your body, it protected you from insects, lizards, scorpions, tarantula bites. So luckily, we don't have to rub our bodies with onions, because I can't imagine that that's entirely pleasant to walk around smelling like an onion all day.
I don't know. That's kind of how I end up sometimes anyway. Just a natural BO.
Nice.
But that's really interesting. I mean, I'll have to try that. You know, it's a struggle out here sometimes with the mosquitoes and the
True.
ticks. So
I mean, desperate times, right?
yeah, exactly. You know, you don't want to be rubbing DEET all over your body. I'd
Yeah,
rather
definitely. I would rather onions than that crap.
100 times.
So you have a nice little jar over to my left, your right.
Yeah, sure.
What do you got in that bed, Larry?
So this is like a little pickle I did of the seed heads we were talking about earlier in the first half of the episode. So these are, it's kind of like a little bit of a sweet pickle. I can't exactly remember the recipe, but we nibbled on 1 or 2 of them already, and it was pretty sweet. Got a lot of mustard seed, whole mustard seed in there.
Yeah, it's like borderline, like it's slightly sweet. It's not to the point of like a bread and butter pickle kind of recipe,
exactly.
but it's not too, it's in that neighborhood. Maybe it doesn't live at that house, but it's traveling around that block.
That has the same the street address.
But we're gonna try a couple more.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I am not a bread and butter pickle fan, so I definitely was trying to avoid that with this.
I have a buddy that loves them, and I don't know why.
Just a little munch on them. Got some good crunch.
How long have they been in this jar? Because they're super crunchy.
They've been in there for a year, so I pickled these last season. Just been sitting in my fridge.
Dude, these are so good.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were on our first round of snackies, we decided that this would be great, like on a sandwich, maybe an open-faced sandwich, or like I thought maybe some sort of like relish or something along those. I mean, it's just the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and it really kind of carried a lot of the pickle flavor. It's not overwhelmingly oniony. It's just kind of faint, and it just kind of it provides a really cool like cartoonish star appearance, and it also provides a good crunch.
Yeah,
so
a nice like this thing salad, like egg salad, or
salad. Oh my god, yeah, an egg salad would be
fantastic.
Oh my god, so good. That's a great idea. I love a good egg salad.
And then at our last little powwow,
last time we got together,
I'd gone out and I went to a place that had these wild alliums, and I made muffins out of them using the whole plant.
Oh my god, they were so moist and savory. It was amazing.
So I made like a onion garlic butter, whatever you want to call it, wild allium butter, by just like sautéing the bulb and the like whiter part of the lower part of the stem in butter, and then I added that to the cup before I poured the batter in.
Oh.
And then I also brushed the top of the muffins after they were done baking. And then I chopped up and sautéed the actual stalk and seed head, and yeah, they were freaking excellent, man. I used this.
So good.
I used this ancient grain called einkorn from Bluebird Grain Farms. Little quick plug for Bluebird.
Pluggy
there.
poo.
Yeah, and it is one of the original grains that we grew in this country before we decided to maximize seed head size and longevity, and it's super delicious and perfect for this particular application.
Yeah, it was.
And a fun fact is because it's more towards the original chromosome count of wheat that we used, it is easier on people with what is it called?
Like celiacs or gluten sensitivity?
Yeah, celiacs maybe not that quite, but not quite that to that effect.
But just like
gluten sensitivity,
yeah.
people have eaten this flour, been able to digest it without any problems. So it lent itself well to a nice onion, and I threw some extra sharp cheddar into that muffin. And man, they were so good. I wish we had some right now. That'd be good.
Yeah, I'm missing them for sure. It was awesome. And that's just kind of just small examples of the variety of ways that you can exchange these wild onions for anything that you would use normal onions for. A roast or a stir fry, or I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about because the possibilities truly are endless.
It would be like that scene in Forrest Gump where Bubba talks about
shrimp.
Yeah, it would be like allium.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, wild onion, casserole, wild onion.
We put onions in a ton of things. You can put it in any of those. So
yeah, no, it's a really accessible plant for a beginner because again, you can just follow that rule of thumb where it's, if it smells like an onion, you can use it. I mean, just be sure you know what an onion smells like, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the nutritional portion of our episode. I think does that pretty much close it up for the Allium Canadense for now. So that kind of explains a little bit why we'll be pounding the breast mince again because even with these like little pickles, it was pretty pungent. I still like smell it in my breath a little bit. But thanks for hanging out with us for another great episode of the Wild Edible World podcast. We'll be back next week for another great informational wild food episode. And I hope you'll listen to us again. Thanks. And yeah, as always,
if you have any recipes or questions, feel free to hit us up. We're at your disposal. And
find us on Instagram, and you can also find us on our Discord, which is Wild Edible World. We'll have that up. And so yeah, as always, be sure that you triple check your IDs in case you feed anybody you love, and that includes yourself and your good pals that you record with.
We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.